Hey guys, thanks for coming back. This weekend I saw The Desolation of Smaug, which is the second movie in the Hobbit trilogy. Stars Ian McKellen, Richard Armitage, Martin Freeman, and of course, the voice of Smaug, Benedict Cumberbatch. And before I get into this review, guys, I want you to know something about a conversation that happens between the two people who go to see the movie versus the person who goes and sees the movie and has also read the book. Here you go. Every time they translate a book to a movie, they never get it right. They get all the characters wrong, they misinterpret the dialogue. I just hate it.
As long as it's entertaining, what's the difference?
You know what? You're right. Hope a monkey stabs you in the face.
What?
Movies should be great.
With a K review!
It's VIC?
No, it's with a K.
Oh.
So in general, I really did enjoy the first Hobbit movie. I liked how Peter Jackson was able to take that really large scope of Lord of the Rings and really put it into like that smaller area and really work on all the characters and their interactions. And with The Desolation of Smaug, it kind of does that, but I'm going to get to that just a little bit later. But before I really start getting into this movie, I want you guys to know there's a special Easter egg in this movie. Right when the first shot of this movie happens and the camera's coming down, watch the person who's eating the carrot. It is a special cameo. It lasts like 5 seconds. Trust me, it's worth it if you know who the person is. So as the movie starts out, you have Thorin and Gandalf sitting down, and Gandalf is like trying to really push Thorin to complete his quest. And then right when they come up to the forest, Gandalf like goes off into like a separate type of adventure, and you know what? This diverging of the storylines does work, kind of works, and then I would say about 45.7% works in the movie. And I can kind of understand why they did this in the movie, because you know what? They don't want to have to do a repeat of the first movie where you're just kind of following the dwarves on their way to go under the mountain. And it's really good that Gandalf does go off and he tries to find that evil that's been developing over the years that's eventually going to destroy everybody. It's a little detracting in the movie, but it's still something good that did keep me interested in the movie. But what was kind of weird in this movie was that in the first movie, you really did have that band of brothers, and everybody was like talking, and Feely and Keely, they were interacting, and you know, Thorin was interacting with the group. And in this movie, it just really didn't seem to happen a whole lot. Now, I'm not saying it didn't happen at all. It's just like, it just didn't seem like everybody was like talking with each other in this movie. And that can happen because of two things. The first thing is that these guys have been together since the first movie, and they're kind of getting tired of each other. They don't really have to do a lot of the chit chat anymore because they really know how each other one works. But in this movie, Thorin just really kind of seems more single-minded, which is kind of the point. Thorin is trying to get to the crown. But he really doesn't have a lot of his interactions with the rest of the group like he did in the first one. Even with Bilbo, where he was like constantly fighting against Bilbo, and he was like, "You're a jerk, I don't like you, you stupid face." And even though those interactions weren't really happening in the movie anymore, I really did like it in the first one. And in this one, I just didn't see a whole lot of it, and that's what kind of brought me down in the movie. Now, the second reason for all of this, I believe, has to do with the actual Hobbit story itself. Now, I read The Hobbit like 15 years ago, and it's not a very long book. And in this movie, I think there are some things that were happening because it wasn't necessarily written like that. Because the writers of this movie actually took a lot of the information from the Silmarillion, which is like a 1,000-page book on the actual history of Middle-earth. It goes through all the different races and everything that happens with those races. But you know what? Doing that and then also making stuff up, this movie just kind of lost the sense of the Tolkien-ish kind of talking in the movie, which wasn't necessarily a bad thing. I actually did like some of the interactions between the characters, but as you're watching it, you're kind of thinking in the back of your head, maybe they shouldn't have stretched this out for 3 movies and just made 2 movies and made the second one really awesome. And the one thing in this movie that I really wish did work better was that 3-way love triangle between Tauriel, Legolas, and I'm not going to give away the third character because I actually want this movie to be a little bit of a surprise. That love story in the movie was okay, but I just wish it was done better, and they took a little bit more time on it within the 3-hour time span of the movie. And I really did like Evangeline Lilly in this movie, and if you all remember, she is actually from the series Lost, which went on for 6 years. And also, just a little side note about that, it's really nice to have a series go on for 6 years and you watch every single episode, and then the last episode is absolutely crap. Kind of sounds like I took a dump. But anyway, my personal feelings aside from Lost, I actually really did like these 2 characters. And you know what? They are actually the most action-oriented elves I've ever seen in any movie. This movie has probably more decapitations by elves to orcs that I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, Legolas, if you compare this Legolas from the first 3 Lord of the Rings movies, this Legolas is not just an elven warrior. This guy is a damn ninja. I mean, just some of the moves, the barrel scene that's in the movie is amazing. You see them like going down in the trailer, but you know what? Hands down, one of the best fight scenes ever in this movie is the barrel scene. It's worth the ticket price. The other character that came in really late to this movie was Luke Evans, and he plays the bard in this movie, and he's like this trader that's in this fish town, and he is very important to the story, but I kind of feel like he didn't get really a lot of chances in this movie to really shine. I know his character is important, but it's really not going to be until the third movie that, we really actually get to see more of his character. Now, the one thing that I really did enjoy in this movie was the action. I really think that the higher frame rate that this movie was shot in does help a lot of the more of the panning shots that Peter Jackson does in the movie. It's kind of weird because a lot of the other Lord of the Rings movies, especially in the first Hobbit movie, you have a lot of these like still shots, you have a lot of the panoramic shots. But in this movie, it's kind of like he kind of moves the camera up and down, and it really does help in the action and in those kind of movements with that higher frame rate. Especially in 3D, this movie looks really, really damn good. So what I have to say in general is that I really did enjoy the second Hobbit movie. I do feel like some of the characters in this movie were kind of downgraded, and I'm not sure whether that had to do with the fact that they were pulling a lot from the Silmarillion and they were making stuff up, or maybe that they were just trying to show like a different dimension of all the characters. So in the first Hobbit movie, I did give it a 4K review. In this movie, I was only going to give it a 3K review. However, Benedict Cumberbatch as Smaug did an incredibly good job as this evil type of dragon. If you want to have like a really good bad guy in a movie, I think you really need to get Benedict Cumberbatch, because his conversations with Bilbo and the way that he was acting on screen and everything, he is like one of the best villains, and that's why I am going to give this movie a 3.5K review, because of Benedict Cumberbatch's performance. And it's not just a 3.5K review, it's a really strong one. So I'm going to have to say, you guys really do need to go see this movie in theaters. Go see it on IMAX and in 3D because of the high frame rate. It is really worth it to see it in the theaters. And when it comes out on video, make sure to rent it. This is one that you need to buy on Blu-ray, absolutely. And you know what? When it streams, put it in that #1 spot. No questions asked. And thanks guys for watching my show. I really do appreciate all the viewers and subscribers that I do have. Make sure to punch me in the face if you didn't like this review and you want to subscribe, or just punch me in the face because you really liked it and you want to subscribe. And you know what? I have a little bit of a CYK. Click your keys. Do you guys think that this movie should have been split into 3? And my personal opinion on that is that this movie should have only been like 2 movies. But everybody has their different opinions, so let me know in the comments below. And never forget, if you don't like what you're watching, you can always turn it off. Thanks, guys.